I am gaming. I am gaming. I am gaming podcast.
Hey everybody, my name is Ivica. Thank you so much for being on the latest episode of I Am Gaming Podcast, a podcast about the video game industry, entrepreneurship, gaming nostalgia, and many more cool things I find to be in the same realm of business and creative ventures. Like always, a huge and ginormous thanks to all of my Patreon supporters who make this podcast possible. Everyone else, please check out the description below and all of their links that will send you to their enormously cool ventures that cover everything from indie games to content creation hubs like YouTube channels and Twitch streams. If you to consider supporting me on this platform, please check out the first or the second link in the description below as well. A buck from you would mean a world to me. This is episode 83 and it's all about the things I consider super important in everyday life and in anyone's life, and those are emotions. But more precisely, that notion of emotion selling things you probably already heard or witnessed many times in your everyday life, especially if you are selling anything like a product or a service or something that you're working on and you're planning to put it on the market in some shape or form. You probably know this concept that emotions sell. But like many other people, like me for a long time, that probably doesn't mean anything to you. It's simply a thing you hear and think that kind of sounds correct, but is completely non-applicable to your concrete and direct situation. So I believe I kind of figured out an element or two about it that could be useful to people like you. So I'm going to try and present it in this podcast episode and hopefully open some chakras in your own perspective of your venture and how you can apply that knowledge or that idea in your own selling process. So the key element here is to understand that we all as human beings think that we're rational and approach the world outside and all of its aspects mostly by believing that we're doing that in a rational, logical manner. That is one of the core beliefs that most of us have about our everyday decisions and everyday actions that are related to practically anything, even our personal lives. So even when we're approaching relationships, for example, that are mostly all about emotions, we think that we're doing it from a rational perspective. There is a rational perspective to all of it, and it's constantly active, so to say, but there is also an emotional perspective that is also constantly active. The same emotional perspective is always there. You always kind of had that feeling that you're either satisfied or unsatisfied. That's the key moment where emotions are born for anyone, including especially small babies who are at the start of their lives simply emotionally active. They have that sense of being in a huge unknown world and they feel something about it. But really quickly that feeling distills itself into two main branches. One branch is I'm satisfied, I'm happy, I'm content, and all of those emotions come from it. And the other branch is I'm not satisfied, I'm not content, I'm not happy. Every other emotion comes from these two branches through our lifetimes, including those that are really complicated, like jealousy, for example. They are still on the I'm not satisfied branch. That branching is active as long as we live and breathe. The same applies in the domain of creating sales and getting people to buy your things, services, products, it doesn't matter. So the key element here is to understand that your buyer is also perceiving your offer through an emotional spectrum. Although the buyer most likely considers that he, she, or whoever does that from a rational perspective. There is a rational perspective, but there is also a emotional perspective. I wouldn't call it irrational because that's a wrong way to put it, but it's simply an emotional vista towards all of it. So let me try to give you an example. This rule, this concept of emotions selling things isn't something that you can simply apply copy-paste style to your venture. You kind of need first to understand it and then to try to figure out what that emotional angle is. So here's an example. Let's say that you, for example, are selling promotional services to people who create gaming content online. So those are people who have YouTube channels, Twitch streams, anything like that, who want to get some additional attention. And they want to do it so that they get metrics that are better. For example, they want to see more subscribers, more views, more watch hours, and everything like that. However, at the same time, there is an emotional undercurrent to that, which isn't about metrics, which isn't about numbers. It's about having actual human feedback provided to them from people that are consuming their content. So an angle here would be to provide the same emotional content through providing that attention and focus and diligence and time spent with their content. They have that in their lives from their, for example, family, friends, anyone who checks out their channel, let's say it like that, and says, yeah, it's pretty cool, but that's completely unsatisfying on an emotional level. They want to have people who are not their friends or their family or anything else that is in any shape or form related to them, check out their content and give them a detailed, in-depth feedback. Even if it's not that positive, it shows that somebody took the time and effort and actually watched their content, which is something that rarely happens to small content creators. The whole point of creating a community is to get people like that behind your channel, but that's not easy and it takes time and effort. Getting a service that does that will trigger those checkpoints, will trigger those emotional needs that are saying, I want somebody to see me, I want somebody to give me a time of day and actually perceive my content. If you do that through that service, you are already fulfilling their emotional desire, even though you might not deliver anything like thousands and thousands of subscribers or hundreds of hours of watch time additional or anything like that. Your promotion could be all about delivering that emotional satisfaction of actually someone, even though that person is paid to do it, but not directly paid. Hey, come on, do something that will show me that you spend time with my channel. But in a roundabout way, it provides exactly that fulfillment of a need to be seen, to be really seen by somebody who didn't do it for like 30 seconds and said, oh yeah, great channel, keep at it, you're awesome. But took the time, took the effort to perceive that content and provide some form of feedback, whatever it might be. It's not that the person creating this content is going to use that feedback to become a millionaire. It's not like, oh, I should be doing that instead of this. But simply the notion of having somebody actually take a look at the things they're creating and give it time, give it effort is incredibly fulfilling for a lot of content creators, even though it's not something they have in their original rational thought about promoting their channel. Most will say, I'm all about getting better metrics, but deep down a lot of them are also, I'm all about being seen by somebody, anybody. And that's an example how the concept of emotions selling things is actually presented in the real world, and how anyone who is selling these services can use that concept to actually get better sales, more clients that are happy with the results, and assurances that even when they don't deliver on the metrics, for example, they don't get so many subscribers, watch hours, numbers of views or anything else, but they still fulfill that emotional need and their clients are satisfied. They are content rationally and emotionally with the service they received. So this can be applied to anything, any domain of sales and products and services, as long as you can figure out the basic dynamics of rational leads, emotional leads, and how those emotional leads can be addressed as long as the rational leads are addressed in some shape or form as well. So in this case, you can simply say, I'm going to take a look at your content and provide you with some feedback because I know that you're desperate for that. That's first untrue and it's kind of insulting to your clients. That's not the point. The point is that you still deliver the rational need, the rational result at some level, but you also deliver an emotional result. Emotional need is fulfilled through that also in parallel, and that's what makes the same service, the same product, the same whatever you're selling stronger than simply a product or service that tries to address only the rational aspect and nothing else. So hopefully this makes sense. I would love to hear your feedback on all of this. I would love to hear your thoughts and takes on this concept of how exactly emotions sell products and services. And if you have them, please leave them in the description below. If not, thank you so much for watching. This was episode 83. Like always, again, a huge thanks to all my Patreon supporters. And if you're a first-time viewer, please consider subscribing or leaving a like, leaving a comment, all good. I would love to get any and all of these. Don't forget to check out my book on overcoming procrastination that is available on Amazon. That's all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. Next episode is inbound in precisely 1 week. Until then, have a great day and bye-bye.